it's been a tough time for Origin.
I don't see ourselves as out just yet, so I'm sure we'll look a lot stronger against Giants.
We will remain in SS, and in Summer Split, Giants is going to be a really good team in EU.
The Challenger Series team defeat the LCS residents.
You're not quite sure if they know what they're doing, but they actually know what they're doing.
Our play style is actually random. We can pick anything and we can win with anything.
Hello and welcome to the penultimate day of the EULCS Summer Promotion Tournament. Over 2 best-of-5s today. One team will secure a spot in the Summer Split, but one of our current LCS squads is looking at the fast track to the Challenger Series. Earlier today we saw Fnatic Academy getting on stage. Some of the veteran talent in that lineup happy to be seated. Kikis looking particularly focused. Hello everyone, I'm Daniel Dracos. The man smiling and giggling next to me is Mitch Krupp of Warspools, and additionally, Martin Aficio-Lunga is here along for the ride. And I may have been a little too enthusiastic at the start. All right, well, we have a lot of promotion tournament action on the menu for the next 2 days, starting right now with Fnatic Academy versus Misfits. Winner, of course, will be going to LCS.
And I'm excited for that. Martin,
are you? Can you stop slapping the table,
I will
Mitch?
stop slapping the table. I really like that we have both Academy teams. At least one of them will get into the LCS, and they show that complacency at the bottom tier of the LCS teams is not rewarded.
And of course, tomorrow, super important game, because the loser of the first game here between Misfits and Fnatic Academy will play the winner of Giants and Origin. So we might see 2 new teams in the LCS, or maybe we only get 1.
It also proves that Martin can actually read a bracket.
It's good.
I mean, you kind of ignored
along.
it, so I figured you didn't really understand what was going to happen, and I just tried to help you.
And of course, the other important fact, Martin, for next time when you need to read this is that one of those LCS teams will be eliminated. So a lot of pressure on the Giants and Origin.
But that's negative, and I stay to the positive.
Exactly. It's good that you're here, and it's good that you're positive,
Thank
Martin.
you.
Well, in our first series today, we have 2 challenger teams that have so far shown that they deserve a spot in the EULCS by taking down some standing EULCS lineups. And it's looked pretty good for these guys overall.
Very good. I think especially after 20 minutes, we have really seen superior macro compared to the LCS teams they've been playing against. And obviously that says a lot about Giants and Origin and their issues, but I think we can just praise Fnatic Academy and Misfits Academy instead. And I also think like the individual talent on those 2 teams, the challenger teams, have actually been a little bit higher than what we've seen from the other LCS guys.
Yeah, I definitely watched or enjoyed watching Misfits Academy, especially because even though they missed the mark on a few early game rotations with Koskyu on Akali in the mid lane, that's really hard to slot in. Overall, and especially just like the Fisher just pointed out, post 20 minutes, they actually have solid map moves and much more refined and much better than the actual LCS teams.
Yeah, and you can see Unlimited on your screen right now, the coach from Misfits Academy. I think he's actually been doing a good job with these guys. There's a lot of help as well from the main team for both Fnatic and Misfits. Some of the same people, like analysts, helping both squads here. And I think we noticed that like they seem like professional teams coming into the tournament where other teams have definitely struggled in the past.
And it's not just the support of their organizations. Of course, on the side of Fnatic Academy, you do have veterans on that team, one of whom is Kikis, and this guy has been, I mean, pretty much a monster throughout both of the series he's played so far.
And he will have to be because he's going up against Jisoo in quite the important matchup here in the top lane. But Kikis, he really almost surprised. Even though we knew he was good, he's still surprised in that opening match.
I mean, true, he outplayed Flaxius a little bit harder than maybe expected, but the funny thing about Kikis is he's not down in the Challenger Series because he wasn't good enough for LCS. There was always like other reasons.
He always chooses to be there.
Yeah, he always decides, you know, he starts over, he starts from 0 again, he climbs his way back up. So individually, Kikis has always been a really good player, and I think he's really showed that this split, and today it should be the same.
Yeah, Kikis is always smurfing, kind of, but never plays on his main account. And here we see a fancy little outplay from Jisoo. Definitely smurfing, because in a Shen versus GP matchup, that's not supposed to happen. And that actually spiraled Misfits forward. And that's the one caveat that we have to keep in mind today, is that generally when the Misfits Academy get a lead in 20 to 30 minutes, it is on the back of good individual plays early on. I'm willing to see against Fnatic Academy today, can they match that same lead. You know, can they get ahead early and then go into team leads? Because on the other side of that coin, I think Fnatic Academy can actually play an even game and then kind of shot call their way into a lead.
And kind of one of the big factors when we look at generating early game leads is usually the jungle role. Now we have the veteran and Amazing going up against, I would say, the young upstart and Pride Stalker, the infamous Rengar one-trick, now clearly not a one-trick anymore, but a pretty hype matchup to be sure.
Yeah, 100%. I think Amazing, he always wants to prove all the haters wrong. He wants to show that he's still good enough to get back into the LCS. And because he is a veteran, people will listen to him. Yeah. So if his shot calling is on point in a game like this, then we should see a difference.
Except when he tweets out how his Rengar is okay, and now he's going
But it was better in scrims.
It was better in scrims. Now he's going up against the infamous Rengar one-trick. That aside, it's actually quite funny if you look at the bigger picture. Pride Stalker is now 18 years old. When Amazing just started playing, he was around a similar age, and then he would play against the then like 14-year-old Pride Stalker in solo queue, right, who was like just a dirty one-trick. You would lose to him, but you would never take these kind of players serious because they were one-tricks. So you brushed them off, and always in your mind, you have this kind of lower rating of them. Now you're up against him on the stage to play a potential career-deciding match here for getting into the LCS. I think if Pride Stalker actually gets a good invade off, or can actually get it into Amazing jungle and kind of rustle his jimmies, he could actually have a big impact on the match.
Definitely something to keep an eye out for, but I mean, how big of a factor is that? Is it enough, Mitch, in your eyes, to turn this one in the favor of Misfits Academy? Who's going to have the edge here overall, and what's the score going to be? Again,
because I think Fnatic Academy just has a bit more experience in these really tough matches with Kikis, with Amazing, with Mr. Rawless too, who is always just ready to deliver exactly what is required. I think Fnatic has the upper edge. For that, I will say 3-1 maybe.
Martin, your thoughts?
I'm also doing 3-1. I'm kind of salty because Mitch now stole my 3-1 here. But
I'll say 3-0. Actually, no, I'll make it 3-2 then, and then Martin, you can go.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm going to go 3-1 here because basically, as Mitch said, individual talent is, in my opinion, slightly in favor of Fnatic Academy. Even though we haven't talked about the bot lane at all, Mr. Rales in the last series looked really, really good, and I think he's going to have the same impact here. So giving it to a Fnatic Academy, but it should still be a very fun and bloody series.
All right, well, I'm glad you guys are so agreeable on your predictions, shifting aside for each other.
That's the problem. We just have the same opinions.
All right, definitely fair.
Well, I have an opinion, then he has the same.
Your opinion's heavily in the favor of Fnatic Academy to a lesser or greater degree, depending on which one of you predicts first, apparently. However, that is enough from us. The players are ready for the first fight in this series, so let's send it over to our casters for game one.
Thank you very much, Dracos, and good afternoon to all of our viewers around the world. I'm Aaron Medic Chamberlain, and with me to cast this series is James Stress O'Leary. Now, Stress, I know I'm quite nervous already to cast this series. I'm sure the players are nervous as well.
Absolutely. I mean, the analyst has touched on it. The winner of this series goes into the LCS. One best of 5 determines the fate of potentially these 10 players for the next split.
Well, let's go through the lineups for this matchup. Starting on the blue side is Misfits Academy. In the top lane is Jisoo. Their jungler is Pride Stalker. Mid lane, Cosq, AD carry, Yuki, support Dreams, and their coach, Unlimited.
So that is the Misfits Academy lineup. On the other side, we're going to see if which Academy team will graduate, because it's Fnatic Academy have chosen red side for game number 1. Their lineup is Kikis in the top lane, Amazing in the jungle, mid lane is Niski, Mr. Rales is AD carry, Klai is the support, and their coach is Coops.
Well, Fnatic favoured by our analyst desk, whether it be, you know, Deficio just having the final say or Crepo following in the way, we'll have to wait and see. I have to admit as well, I think Fnatic probably have the edge in this matchup.
I think so too, without wanting to play up to them. Lord knows they do it enough between each other. I mean, I agree on the Fnatic side. And honestly, the reason that I think Fnatic are going to be so strong is the same reason why I thought Giants was almost, you know, suicidal for picking Fnatic. It's like you've picked into a team that has such consistently strong, experienced players, but everything can change now. We're into the first draft of this best of 5.
Straight on in Misfits Academy on the blue side, of course, because Fnatic chose red. We are on 7.6. Galio is still disabled for the entirety of promotions, and we have a few bans coming out. Malzahar and Camille from Misfits Academy. Fnatic Academy have taken away the Rengar.
Of course, I wouldn't be surprised to see some Kha'Zix and maybe a Graves ban throughout this series. That is what Misfits Academy have prioritized for Pride Stalker, and has looked very good while playing those champions, especially against Origin. Syncroft just could not hold up against Pride Stalker, which is the second experienced jungle. It was Lulax first, now Syncroft has been taken down.
And you can see Misfits focusing up towards that top lane with the Camille ban. They know the Kickers can play that. Klai, of course, could flex it into the support role. We saw Jez is doing that for the Fnatic main squad. And then taking the Elise away as well from Amazing.
So as we round out the rest of the draft, Shen banned out, of course, Jisoo, we saw some of his plays on that. Now taking out the Graves away from Fnatic Academy, you have to look at where they'll look towards for their jungle pick, but this Graves should be a strong pick first up for Pride Stalker. Will it be the Lee Sin in response for Amazing? He's only played 4 junglers, and out of that, Lee Sin and Rek'Sai, the only 2 available.
Lee Sin seems like a pretty safe pick, but already Fnatic going towards the Varus and the LeBlanc here. So solidifying that mid lane, very early LeBlanc pick for Niski.
And this is a departure for Fnatic when you look at their AD carry role here. Mr. Rales consistently getting his hands on Ezreal in the previous series, but with Varus up and available, not many teams are letting that go through. When you have it on first rotation, it's very strong, but we are quickly getting crazy in this draft. There's a Katarina, you have an engaged tool and a burst tool alongside it. This Misfits Academy lineup so far is looking for individual picks, and now they're trying to force Fnatic Academy into at least a decent jungle matchup alongside that. The Katarina-LeBlanc matchup is a bit of a back and forth one. We'll get into that as we go into the game.
Yeah, you have to think Fnatic pick up probably the Lee Sin here for Amazing, as you said, with the jungle pick. And now we're going to get to that second rotation of bans. So AD carries locked in, junglers and mid laners. Where do these teams now focus that ban priority?
Well, right now you can either leave up like a Karma or something like that for Fnatic, and they'll end up picking that in this first rotation of Phase 2. Or Misfits Academy will ban away all of the blind pickable supports and force Fnatic Academy maybe to pick up a blind pickable top laner. There aren't too many left, and Nautilus is the type of champion that you could play. But Kikis has played the most unique champions in the top lane out of any Challenger Series player so far. There's an Akali in there, there's Echo, there's Kled.
Got one match in the Challenger Series as well.
You name it, he played it. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Fnatic Academy last pick their top lane. Could also just be the Nautilus here. Banning out the supports may be an indicator that they want that blind pickable top lane and don't want to give away too much for Misfits Academy.
Yeah. So Zyra and Karma taken away by Fnatic. Misfits focusing that top lane, focusing the carries down. Fizz and Kled off the cards.
Tahm Kench is available right now if Fnatic Academy want to take that as a bot lane pick. Is decent into Ashe, always has been. And the same with the Katarina on the opposite side. Another pick that you can mitigate a lot. If you can take away that first kill, well, you've also got a protection melee support.
Yeah, Braum gives you a little bit of protection, and because you've taken away a lot of the range supports, it's not the end of the world in that matchup. Dreams could always go for something like the Thresh here, or even his own Tahm Kench, 2 champion he's very strong on. So I'm actually slightly surprised by that Braum instead of the Tahm Kench that you were talking about. Now we're going to see the Nautilus locked in for Jisoo in the top lane, and Dreams' support will be the final lock-in here.
And this is why Misfits Academy banned the Fizz and the Kled. They were pretty much expecting Fnatic Academy to take their support here, and Nautilus would be available. One of the matchups that still is up is the Rumble, if they want to take it. Not exactly a champion that we've seen that much out of Kikis recently, but again, he's played so many different things. But Akali is a champion that he has played into Nautilus, but he's playing it into an Akali player.
That he is. Now, Jisoo very well known for his Akali, as is Kozku. We thought Akali would be a priority pick between these teams, and actually, we saw Kikis play the Akali into the Nautilus matchup.
Yeah, there we go.
And he did incredibly well in those playoff matches, so it's going to be Akali top. A real lack of tankiness here, apart from that Braum pick for Fnatic Academy.
But Fnatic Academy, if they start the snowball going, Misfits Academy theoretically will struggle to hold on. However, Misfits Academy have a good kind of turnaround on team fights. If one person drops from an Ashe arrow that is out of position, Misfits Academy will jump on Fnatic very quickly, and this Katarina will quickly take down the squishy targets that you highlighted for us. So there's a lot of nuanced play as we get towards the skirmishes, but this is a very explosive Fnatic Academy lineup. This is indicative of them wanting a lead early and never letting it go.
Last time we saw Kikis get this Akali in the top lane, he was dominant. Didn't have the best stat lines at the end of the game, but was just unstoppable in that split push role. This whole draft feels a lot more coordinated from both these two teams. When they last met in week 4, it was very much more about team fights, very much more about whoever gets those big end game objectives wins the game. This is much more early game focused.
Yeah, it is absolutely, especially at a Fnatic Academy. Misfits, maybe aside from the Katarina, have a slightly more conventional setup. When you look at it, you've got a tank top laner, you've got a decent jungle matchup, and an engaged tool and defensive play on the bottom lane. So theoretically, like, their composition is maybe better rounded than Fnatic's, but Fnatic's is the kind of composition that we love to watch. It's going to be Kikis on this Akali. You mentioned his stat lines didn't look amazing. Well, the one thing that did look great was his CS at the end of the game. He was crushing that top lane matchup.
We are about to get onto the Summoner's Rift. Game 1 of this best of 5 between Fnatic Academy and Misfits Academy. The winner goes through to the LCS. The loser has to fight again tomorrow. It's going to be a great series, Stress.
I hope so. I hope it will be. We're in game 1. We've got a Katarina and a Kali. I think that says everything we needed to as we load up onto the Rift. EU Challenger in the promotion tournament has kind of become the new home of Akali, I feel like. We've seen it in mid lane, we've seen it in top lane multiple times now.
Out of the 6 times Akali's been played, 3 of them have been in EU Challenger, and those have been the 3 wins as well for Akali across this split. So
let's go Europe. That's what we wanted.
Well, it's also an omen of hope for Fnatic Academy as well, with Akali having a 100% win record in the European region. Perhaps Kikis can continue that record or break the streak, as Misfits look to see if they can set up anything early. Just seeing perhaps if Fnatic were going to invade, Niski, of course, can place that ward across the bush, and it's going to be pretty even between these 2 teams to start us off.
Yeah, we aren't quite going to see the shenanigans we were seeing in some of the playoff games where we were getting kills every single level 1.
Oh, I loved it. Although the team that got the first blood in that scenario, if you got first blood under a minute, you lost the game on average across the last week of promotions.
That's my kind of stat, one that doesn't make sense at all.
It was also, if you got first tower, you lost the game, which was, again, not indicative of how we usually see LCS playing, but you said it in Pick and Ban, this is very much more Challenger Series, and we can see Fnatic are in favor here. Of course, both of the sister teams played very well this last weekend. Perhaps we see some of that revitalization from Fnatic spreading over into their academy compadres.
May very well be. I mean, you can't really underestimate how much growth Fnatic Academy and Fnatic's main LCS lineup have shown over the last few weeks and, you know, just about a month. Both have gone from strength to strength. Fnatic Academy, obviously, since bringing Amazing back into the lineup down from the LCS team, really turned this team around. And it was against Misfits Academy that he actually had his first showing in Challenger Series. That was a 1-1 split matchup. So it's interesting that we're at this point where both teams are on the cusp of joining the LCS, and the sister teams are on the cusp of maybe going to the finals.
And I think it shows as well the benefit of having an Academy squad, because you're able to scrim up against your main squad. You both improve from each other. I know Fnatic Academy have been scrimming against Fnatic this week, and it just allows you that little bit more inventiveness. You know your scrims are going to be try-hard because you want those Academy players to be striving for the LCS spot.
And now that hasn't always happened when we've had these Academy teams and, you know, lineups like with a quote-unquote B team. A lot of the time they're actually very separate, but we know they have started to scrim more recently against each other as they've been more successful. So it is interesting to see whether the playstyles will be adapting. But the early game action that we haven't quite caught up on is just a couple of wards going down. You can see one was placed deep on the Grump on blue side. Amazing has been tracked off that ward in front of the Infernal Drake, but I believe the Hawk shot didn't quite spot him out earlier when he was on the Grump. So Misfits Academy surely know that Amazing is heading bot. They're about to ward Tribush to spot him out, but he's actually already jumped using that blast cone. We saw him head over towards the Krugs.
This is something he did so well last week as well, changing his jungle pathing slightly to avoid these Tribush wards. We see him do it up towards top lane, and here, perhaps he'll be able to get a gank off bot. It is a dangerous gank to make into an Ashe and a Tahm catch.
And look at this defensive ward already by Kikis on the top side as Dreams has found Amazing bot. Kikis knows that Pridestalker is already here, and that is a ward that we don't always see put down, so he knows right now there is the impending gank. If Jisoo maybe hits the hook or lands at least that auto to set it up, but look at how low Pridestalker is. He's still going to deal with all of these Krugs. Kikis should be able to just clear out this wave in front of him, albeit slowly. He should be safe here. Amazing is hovering around the top side as well, but you know, Misfits has done a good job of spotting Amazing out already this game.
We see as well, Jisoo's just pushing Kikis back in towards his turret. With the Riptide, Nautilus is always going to push early on, but there becomes a turning point where this Akali will start to get online and start to be able just to harass down that Nautilus.
Unfortunately for Kikis, it is not the moment that he goes aggressive towards a Nautilus that has a cannon minion in the wave behind it. So Kikis comes up a little worse off from that trade. We haven't seen much action in the mid lane yet, but around there, we're about to have Pridestalker checking into Clyde.
Exhausted straight away, the Sonic Wave doesn't connect. Clyde will get the stun off, but here's Coscu, there's first blood! And Coscu on this Katarina starts to pop off.
5-minute kill for Coscu. Had to use Flash, used Ignite, but still, it's entirely worth it now. As long as Coscu can avoid any follow-up from Amazing, Coscu will have the dagger to Shunpo too. You can get yourself out. So now it's on Coscu. Just play safe, and he's already got himself a good enough lead. Pridestalker baiting in Nisq maybe here alongside Coscu, but it's enough.
Niski's just trying to farm up a little bit in that lane as well. Ranged into melee matchup can be okay. Let's have another look at this first blood, because this is Clyde going aggressive.
And this is actually Coscu coming down very quickly. Faster than Nisq could actually get into the fight himself. The fact that they can get that kill cleanly, and Misfits Academy 1-0 on this. Again, it's because they kind of had an inkling of where Clyde and Amazing were. Misfits were prepared to move, and that is something that Fnatic Academy were not expecting.
Not at all. And Coscu, the last time he played this Katarina was against Schalke in playoffs. He was dominant on it, 11-3-7 in that game. Here, he picked it up very early in the draft phase on that first rotation. And obviously feels relatively comfortable in this matchup into the LeBlanc, because he picked it into the LeBlanc. And
not only that, you can see that because there is an iota or two of AD in there. Coscu going Hex Drinker first. Wants some of that extra survivability, bouncing around a fight. Obviously, a lot of Katarinas in days gone by just go full AP and just rush it all. Coscu maybe going to show us something a little bit different here. He's always one for slightly tweaked builds, so I'm excited to see what he's going for here.
We do see a lot of mid laners getting early no magic mantles or Negatron cloaks as well, so perhaps that's just an adaptation here. You never really build towards the Abyssal on the Katarina, so just getting that Hex Drinker with the scaling that we were talking about can do quite a bit of work. But now we're 7 minutes in, and there's already 1,000 gold lead here for Misfits Academy. That doesn't all come from that first blood. If you look in the jungle, Pridestalker's heavily out farming Amazing, and also in the bot lane, there's a 10 CS lead for Yuki.
Yeah, the bot lane is kind of a product of the fact that Clyde got killed, because Mr. Relez had to concede a lot of space in the lane. He's played a lot of Ezreal, and that's the kind of AD carry that maybe wouldn't quite have been punished by the support roam quite so much, but of course Varus being a less mobile AD carry does play at the mercy of Clyde leaving the lane, and that's a very interesting prospect that we're going to have to track throughout this series.
It's something Clyde does a lot of the time as well. He likes to be with Amazing early on, has the highest proximity with his jungler in the early game of any support from the Challenger series. And actually Amazing's going to get onto Coscu. Nisq jumps in, exhausts down. Coscu no flash, Nisq with the kill.
And there's the repeat gank from Amazing. This time it looked like it was a little different pathing here. There was a ward down to spot Amazing, and I don't know whether it was just too late, but Coscu couldn't escape, tried his best to get out of there, and Fnatic Academy with the return kill as revenge on to Coscu.
And we can actually see Kik is struggling a little bit still in this matchup in the top lane. Triple Dorans for Jisoo means that it's quite hard for that Akali. Now Fnatic have got that kill, and they'll go and steal away this blue buff as well for Nisq.
I think when you look at it, like, Kik is picking this Akali, which we'll get to in a second. There was no actual ward here. Coscu was heading toward. This is what we didn't quite catch right at the start. So Coscu didn't get the ward down in time, ends up getting picked off. But Kikis, remember, in this top lane is now playing this Akali into a player that is an Akali main. I wonder whether the fact that he took 1 or 2 rough trades in the lane into the minion wave has made it difficult for him. But he is even on CS. It's not like it's a completely lost lane here. There's Fnatic Academy head mid again.
Early Inferno. Coscu's going to put down the Death Lotus, but it's a death knell for him. Amazing will get the kill.
Coscu, after such a good start, has been playing forward in the lane against Fnatic Academy. You can see his wave was basically pushed up past the halfway mark. Coscu didn't dodge out the chains, couldn't. I mean, we didn't quite see the beginning of it, but Nisq very comfortable now, has a kill. Amazing has a kill as well. So Fnatic Academy are starting to bounce back. But as you said, Infernal Drake has gone over to Misfits Academy. That will help them when they can get into a couple of fights later on.
So you can see here how much Amazing's been doing in the early game, and this is indicative of what he usually does. High jungle proximity compared to Pridestalker. He gets early ganks off, and he pays for it slightly in terms of experience, usually about half a level down when we get to that 15-minute mark. But getting his lanes ahead is exactly what Amazing wants to do.
And this is one of the ways that he has worked very well to do that. So Niski comes in. Cosq, how do these chains hit? They just move past the minions. Cosq didn't have anything to escape it. It's a clinical kill as soon as Niski moves forward in the lane. And Amazing obviously there for the assist as well. Amazing and Pridestalker this time around only just separate on experience. Maybe one camp's difference for now. So some of that experience that Amazing has had from the kill, the assist, is kind of compensating for a little bit of that drop-off that we normally would see between Pridestalker and Amazing.
Exactly, and it's a different jungle style from two junglers as well, whether you want to gank or whether you want to go for that CS. Now, Pridestalker's waiting in the bush. Kicker's going to get knocked up, tries to go into the Twilight Shroud, seeing if he can dodge around. Still has Flash here, and of course that ultimate, concussive blows will land, but still gets away. Kickers, he does use the Flash in the top lane. Yeah, Flash out past the dredge line, though. If that dredge line had hit, maybe Pridestalker had enough damage. He had the collateral damage still available. They're going to push this tower, though. Despite getting no kill, they got the Flash. Now they get tower first blood as well. Misfits Academy showing us a strong early game, just like last week. And you can see the difference between the two junglers. Pridestalker's up top. We're going to have Abyssal Voyage here just to save Cosq underneath the turret. Amazing was mid once again when Pridestalker was up there, so we can see that Graves wants to try and keep Kikis down, whereas Amazing is trying to get Niski ahead. And look at the response from Amazing, trying to head bot side, but Dreams is cutting him off already. Niski, this time there is a flash for Cosq, so they do have to be a little careful on that, but not enough damage to actually kill him. Cosq holds onto it. Cosq has, as you said, turned back in the lane now. These 2 kills have cost him. And the 1 kill that they had at the beginning of the game isn't quite enough to snowball this lead into an unstoppable Katarina. They need a couple more kills before we get to that. The question is, can Niski become an unstoppable LeBlanc, and can we have Kikis just farming in a side wave, slowly getting that Akali stronger and stronger? I feel like Niski has an easier time of getting a greater lead, because Katarina, you have to get that first kill in the team fight. Otherwise, you're almost useless, right? You get a lot of damage down, but if you don't actually get the reset off, even with the rework on Katarina that has slower damage, that isn't quite so all-in burst, you still require the cooldown reset. Yeah. And without it, you struggle. Whereas Niski, he can be very active, blow somebody up is quicker than a flash. Yuki will be off the map. If Dreams doesn't react with enough respect, then Fnatic Academy have the numbers advantage. Well, the game's slowed down a little bit here, Stress. Let's have a quick review of where we are. Slight lead for Misfits Academy in terms of gold. They also got that first turret, but Fnatic are fighting back. They've started to pick up some of their item spikes. It looks like Niski's going towards that Hextech Gunblade. Same for Kikis in the top lane, and there's a Blade of the Ruined King completed on Mr. Rales. I think the key right now on 7.6 is if it says Blade, buy it. Is there anything with Blade in that... I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Maybe just don't buy the third Blade film. That was awful. Yeah. Fnatic Academy right now. Oh, Amazing. Has to try and get out. Dredgeline is coming in as well. Yeah, the Dredgeline does hit, but the problem is, yeah, with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow not connecting, with Amazing being able to jump across the wall, using the flash, it's a very difficult engage for Misfits Academy. It is, but Misfits Academy looking for some of these setups to try and catch anybody out, although Cosq has been spotted on this ward. Can Amazing just go for the 1v1? Clyde jumps across the wall with the stab beside me, and Mr. Rales is waiting in the wings. Another kill for Amazing. Importantly, Amazing goes over the wall, first gets the kick to land the Q for the damage, doesn't just throw it out blind, knows there's a flash available, and respects the fact that Cosq would avoid it if he had any kind of warning. That was nice out of Amazing. Jumps over, gets the kill, equalizes the towers. And so many times we talk about what teams take off kills. Now, the last time these two teams met, it was a bloodbath. Some of the heaviest kills and deaths games we had in the Challenger Series, but they weren't taking objectives. We see how much they've changed in the 2 months since that series. Here, Fnatic get 1 kill, they take a tower, they set up vision around the dragon, and they start to control that bottom side of the map. Especially with the dragon up in 40 seconds, it's Infernal Drake. You don't want Misfits Academy to get that as a second one. Obviously, Fnatic Academy, if they can control the bottom half of the map, it does leave Kikis a little on his own on the top side. Without a tower, it means Kikis does have to play with a bit more respect, but if everything is happening bot side, that's where Pridestalker is going to have to focus as well, right? And with only 1 teleport for each team, it's not like you can suddenly 3v1 somebody on a side lane particularly easily. And we're starting to see Kikis actually gain some of that CS advantage that he was so well known for on this Akali. 20 CS up above Jisoo. Jisoo's now going to push out the wave and equalize that a little bit, but it gives time for Fnatic to roam and look for the kill onto Dreams. Akali's here as well.
And a lot of the reasoning for that is the fact that Jisoo, his role is kind of just to push back Kigis when he can, and then to facilitate fights. There is a ward in the Dragon Pit, but they don't want to go right in here. This Dragon is dying pretty quickly. Price Stalker's in.
Looks for the steal, can't get it from Amazing. Now Dreams is caught out, he tries to get away, but he is taken down. Jisoo knocked up, Fnatic getting kills. Here's Coscu, he's in the midst of 5 members of Fnatic. It's a double for Amazing.
And even without the exhaust available for Fnatic, you can see Coscu going in 1 versus 5, puts his stat line now to 1 and 4 from what was a very good start for Misfits, a good regroup for the first blood. Fnatic Academy have punished Coscu everywhere he's tried to move, and Fnatic Academy are coming out so far ahead because of it.
And this is what we've seen from Fnatic over the last few weeks. Great objective play, great team fighting. At times, it looked like perhaps they could be caught out if you challenge their 1-3-1 too well, but it's just not working.
Yeah, it truly hasn't worked out quite so well. You can see how far Coscu was forced to come around this fight, so he's ready to go into this fight. He's a Katarina. This is a type of fight that if he's there at the beginning, he is desperate for. There was an exhaust that came out. It was the one that came from Niski in this fight. Cly, they have 2 exhausts, so every single time Cat comes into the fight, it should be easy to lock him down. Coscu saw the kills in his eyes, didn't really have it in front of him, and ends up getting taken down quick enough.
Mr. Wallace,
dead.
Yuki just taken out by Niski there. Whew. That was so quick.
Was that just like the clone caught him? I believe it was like right where the scoreboard was.
Yeah, we must have just missed it. But such great play by Fnatic to make those picks, and we talked about it, Stress. Snowball for Niski is starting to roll.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is, I don't know whether it's jitters for Misfits Academy. This is obviously the 3rd series they have played on the stage, but this is the first time a lot of these players are playing for an LCS spot. Yeah. Coscu's been on stage so many times, but I believe this is one of the first times he's ever been 1 game away from getting into the LCS. So you can see that some of their movements on the map, pushing up too far, giving away kills when it's just not the right thing to do. I mean, Yuki ends up getting taken down. Oh, wow, okay, it was actually the bounce.
Whew, that's unexpected as well. You don't expect the LeBlanc to be able to burst you like that.
I don't think Yuki was expecting to lose like 40% of his health to the bounce there from LeBlanc.
And we can start to see Fnatic taking this game by the scruff of its neck. 3,000 gold lead now, just continually extending, and it's actually extended to 4,000 while I've been talking. Bit by bit by bit, Fnatic are stopping Misfits in their tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the difficulties that we discussed about facing this Fnatic Academy team is like, you can't understate how important the experience of being an LCS, a Worlds, you know, finals player has, because you get to this point and you kind of just end up going into, you know, not the zone, like, quote unquote. A lot of players will talk about that. Amazing did, however, speak about how when he was playing on the opposite side, when it was relegation time, it was one of the most nervous games for him. So even that experience helps the Fnatic lineup at this point. And Misfits Academy, I think they will settle throughout this series. That was nice by Niski.
Yeah, Jisoo's going to try and jump around, knocks Niski up, but 4 members of Fnatic are here, and Jisoo will get devoured. Dream's trying to get his Nautilus to safety. Does manage to escape in the end, but just coming back to that experience point, Stress, when you compare just the amount of competitive games these 2 teams have placed, there is such a vast chasm between the 2. Like, Fnatic Academy have had 828 competitive games that I could find. Misfits Academy, 297. The best way to express how big this gap is Amazing himself has had 279. Only 18 games less than the entire Misfits Academy roster at a competitive level. And it just pays dividends for you when you come to the crunch and you get into these big series.
Yeah, settles itself in. And we've settled ourselves in. 20 minutes nearly about in game 1, and Fnatic Academy have a significant lead right now. We have seen Misfits Academy play from behind in previous weeks, though. So I think there's always one thing to look out for, is especially with this type of composition. Ash Arrow, Nautilus engage into a Katarina cleanup. Maybe
Coscu
not a
jumps in with a Death Lotus, but there's an Ignite and Pride Stalker's there. Coscu, can he get away? Yes, he can. This is what you're talking about, Stress, the ability to pick off one member.
Yeah, that's the punish, and if that type of thing happens right at the beginning of a team fight setup, CosQ can combo. Depends on that exhaust timing, but Misfits Academy aren't out of this game yet. They have enough engaged tools, they have enough defensive tools at the same time that they should be able to slow down Fnatic Academy and punish them if they ever try a risky Baron. That's one of the areas where Ashe, Katarina can really succeed.
We've seen how much Misfits like those risky Barons. Let's have a look at this play once again. Pridestalker sneaks into the bush.
Yeah, so Nisqy at this point forced to flash away and then kind of sticks around. Doesn't respect an under tower exhaust, but wasn't expecting Pridestalker. He was already low enough that that collateral damage from basically max range was enough to pick him off. Fnatic Academy, a 3-man stack now, looking for vision control on the bottom side. 30 seconds on the next Drake. It's Ocean, so maybe not quite as high in priority as the Infernals we've had so far in this game, but Fnatic Academy will want it because it's one of the only objectives they can pick up that's easy to continue snowballing their lead.
We saw them get the Rift held on towards Kikis earlier on. Also, both these teams play a lot around that Elder Drake later on in the game, especially the last time they met, so having an extra dragon under your belt is always beneficial. Misfits Academy are trying to step forward into this red side jungle, see perhaps if they can get some vision down, but at the moment, Fnatic seem to have control.
It's happening again for Kikis. He's putting the CST show on again. This Akali, he just pushes, and there's no real way for Jisoo to deal with him until he's under tower, at which point Kikis steps back. And then Jisoo has to respect them. That's when Fnatic Academy have been pretty good at actually forcing teleport plays. So it means the next time Kikis can just get to the fight, and Misfits Academy are a man down.
However, the game once again has slowed down a little bit after that 10 to 15 minute flurry. We see the gold equalize as well, only 2,000 the difference, and now Misfits Academy are starting to get some items under their belt. You've got Spirit Visage up on GC, you've got a Black Cleaver completed for Pridestalker, the Hextech Gunblade for CosQ, the Blade of the Ruin King for Yuki as well.
And with Rales in the top lane, Fnatic can't step too far forward because an Abyssal Voyage behind them would mean near certain death for some of their members. Now they regroup towards the Baron.
Ooh, whoa,
They
okay.
faked that they were going Rift Scuttler, and now they're trying to fake a play here with LeBlanc sitting mid. Misfits Academy, it's taking them long enough, but this is not a fast Baron. Yes, they have Blade of the Ruin King here with the Hurricane, but Misfits Academy knows something is up. You can see now Tahm Kench is looking towards it. This still is at about 3,000 health on it, now down below 1,000.
Stolen one before, he looks for another. Devour onto Dreams, he's gonna get the Baron for Fnatic Academy, and they'll take Dreams down as well. Amazing's dead, great play by Fnatic.
Yeah, Fnatic are able to regroup on that, and Misfits Academy just didn't spot the play fast enough. It was a slow Baron out of Fnatic Academy, and this is what we were talking about, like, Misfits Academy can react to a situation like that with full force, and it should go well. But Fnatic Academy take the Baron with almost no contest, a couple of kills alongside it, and that might just be the death knell for game one for Misfits Academy.
Yeah, now Fnatic just grouping up as a 5-man stack in this top lane. They'll take the first time of the push and perhaps look for more. They can go mid, they can go bot, there's still towers there for them to claim.
And I feel like that was the exact type of play that Krepo was talking about on the lead up to this. Like, Amazing being such an experienced player, the team will listen to him. It was Amazing that started this Baron.
Yeah.
The rest of his team was still on the Rift Scuttler. He must have seen something on the map where they had vision around bot side. They knew that they were keeping Nisqy mid to fake, and Fnatic Academy take a slow, but it ends up being a safe Baron from it as well, which is difficult to say at 22 minutes into a game.
Kikis continuing to farm himself up. Nisqy's going to claim this blue. Vision control so much in favor of Fnatic as well, especially in that river area. If you look at the red side jungle for Misfits, they've scattered wards all across that area, and now Fnatic are coming down through them. CosQ's just going to Shumpo away. Misfits need to work out how they're going to mount a defense against this Baron buff.
Yeah, it's very difficult because the Katarina restricts so much of the wave clear here. Ashe will just have volley. Nautilus doesn't offer too much until the minions push under tower. He's actually in mid lane trying to defend against Kikis, which is going to be a losing battle. So it's down to Graves and Ashe to just wave clear this out. And if CosQ keeps getting chunked and having to return to base, there might be an opening that Fnatic Academy just look to engage.
I think the question now becomes how hasty are Fnatic Academy? Are they willing to wait for another Baron to come up if they need to, or are they going to be trying too hard to force plays? Yes, they're ahead. 5,000 gold, almost 6,000 for them. They've got that Inferno, they've got the Ocean, and they're looking for the turrets. But if you step too far, Misfits will capitalize on that.
Yeah, they will. They'll get at least another 2 minion waves on this on the bot side, though. Fnatic Academy are going to need at least an ace or another Baron to end this game. There's no way that they can push in on this Baron buff without killing everybody on Misfits Academy. But this is another wave lining up. You can see the cannon minion is still here, so it is wailing away on that tower. But Fnatic are 5 people stacked in this bottom lane. Misfits Academy concede, but they've done a good job of slowing Fnatic Academy at the same time. Like, they didn't just crumble, they at least have held Fnatic Academy's Baron buff. They may lose mid-tower from it, but there is no minion wave there for now, so it's all on Fnatic pushing it up and pushing Misfits Academy back before this Baron buff expires.
Still a quarter of the time on that buff left, though, so you think Fnatic have probably 2 or 3 waves to play with here to see if they can push in. Jisoo's caught off towards the side, eaten up by Dreams, and spat out behind the tower.
It's only going to be the wave that's joining now, because by the time the next one is spawned, the buff will have expired. So this wave that's stacking up, it's about a wave and a half, should be enough to take down the tower. Misfits Academy concede, but again, it's turtling tactics, right? This is still a benefit for Fnatic Academy. It's still going in their favor, but Misfits Academy are not giving over inhibitor towers. They're not giving over towers without at least slowing Fnatic Academy down.
How easy is that push onto inhibitors now for Fnatic? Even with a Baron buff, you've got amazing. Kikis is playing this Akali, who is a great split pusher, but not great at taking down towers. You've got a LeBlanc and you've got a Varus for poke potential. How easy is it to actually break that base?
Difficult. Because you're playing up against Tahm Kench, Ashe, Nautilus, and then a Katarina alongside. So suddenly, if you take one step too far forward, if you don't kill people before you try and do that, Misfits Academy will punish you under tower. You'll get hit by an Ashe arrow, the target you're looking for will get devoured by Dreams, and suddenly Misfits Academy will turn the fight back around and force Fnatic Academy to recall. So Fnatic are still in a great spot, but this is where the game becomes a lot more difficult with the composition that they're running, and without the Baron buff, Kikis theoretically can't push up to a tower and push through it. He requires Baron buff minions to try and do anything against Jisoo under tower. He can get lane control and push it all the way up to the tower, perfectly fine. Everything else is a lot different, a lot more difficult.
He definitely has lane control at the moment with almost a 50 CS lead. Here come 3 members of Fnatic, but Kozq and Dreams are around the corner. Knock up onto Niski. Jisoo going to be able to escape for the time being. Cry trying to land a Winter's Bite. Kozq's looking for the re-engage. No Mr. Wallace yet here. Both teams going to back off.
And this is Fnatic Academy trying to, first of all, get a pick, and then when they don't successfully get the kill, move back out now for the Drake. They also are looking for any summoners, any flashes they can get at this point, because we're getting to the stage where one team fight, yeah, that is grammatically correct, will win the game for Fnatic Academy. But Misfits Academy, as we said, very, very potent on the turnaround here.
Look at Misfits' vision at the moment, though. There's hardly any wards even out on the map for them at the moment. None in that river, none in the jungle of Fnatic Academy. They've been denied such a vast area of this map by Fnatic.
There are a couple of key wards and things they have available. So Blue Trinket plus Hawkshot makes any Baron play quite difficult. Now they're trying to sweep out bottom side, but there isn't really too much that is going to be bottom focused for the next few minutes. With that Dragon gone, we're still waiting now for about that 33, 34 minute mark. So it's top side they need to establish some sense of control here. And you can see a couple of wards have gone down. Fnatic are going to sweep them out. But Misfits Academy, again, they just can't let that Baron go over for free.
Even if they could catch 1 or 2 members, it would be a boon for them. We've seen Yuki get that quadra kill, a pentakill in fact, versus Origin at a bad Baron call from Origin. And earlier on it looked like we were going to have flashbacks to that, but Misfits weren't quite able to catch Fnatic out.
And that's the thing, both teams may actually be afraid of team fighting more than they want to fight, because both sides have good cleanup. You've got a Katarina and a Hurricane Ashe. Both can take out multiple targets at the same time. Fnatic Academy, Akali, Varus with a Hurricane Blade of the Ruined King. Same thing as the Ashe. So if you take one bad team fight, it might not be such a clean-cut Katarina wins it. It might just be that Fnatic Academy end up losing a couple of people, and Yuki cleans up. Now they want to try and fight.
Amazing can jump away or even look for the engage. He will dash across the wall, half health though.
Arrow is down, and the Honey Fruit was up for Amazing to heal himself back up and to 3/4 health. It's enough for him for now, but Fnatic Academy trying to just utilize this Akali on the side lane. Misfits are going to try and make a play. Can they land the depth charge? Just needs to get in range. Niski's being pushed all the way away, and it's dragged Kikis across from the top lane. A very tentative game here between both Academy teams.
Still very slow between them as well. This is Fnatic waiting. They're just working out exactly what they can take if they can get those summoners, as you said. And Stress, I just want to come back to the Honey Fruit, because do you know why I like the name of the Honey Fruit so much? Honey is actually a natural antibiotic. So having it as something that heals you is a very pertinent name. So good job there. Great naming. Amazing, looking for a great engage. Does hit Yuki with the kick. Not going to follow up though. Educational and
that's
entertaining.
Fine, like, as long as we're not treading into the realms of homeopathy at this point.
No. It's a natural antibiotic. If you ever get injured, don't have any antibiotics nearby, smear some honey on.
Well then, the things you learn.
Kick back, he jumped in. Death Lotus comes down, eaten up by Dreams. Fnatic looking for the prey. Here's the redemption. Clive's in the front line. All of Misfits there. Kickers has joined. Rales gets Cosq down, and now Fnatic can just turn and burn. Mr. Rales doing so much work with the double. Kickers gets one as well. Only Pride Stalker and Yuki left alive.
Yeah, you can see Fnatic Academy just trying to chase Misfits Academy out. Now we'll push towards that inhibitor turret themselves. That'll open up the Baron buff. And you can see once Cosq fell, nobody from Fnatic Academy had fallen. So after Dreams getting the Devour, there was nothing more for Cosq to survive. And it's been a rough game for him. 1-5-1. He got first blood and then couldn't maintain his lead. Fnatic Academy did a good job of picking him off. And despite the turtling strategies of Misfits, it wasn't enough to close out this fight. Jisoo didn't quite land that pick on Amazing, and then Cosq gets kicked right into the team. Down to 300 health. Pridestalk is about to die in the live vision.
Does have the redemption, going to get chased out. Gets away for the time being, but Niski will catch him up, devoured by Dreams, and actually, with the TP coming in, perhaps Misfits can take this fight. There's the hook onto Rales. Yuki here. That Ashe can do a lot of work with the Runes.
Look how far Cosq is.
Keep on running away. Abyssal Voyage comes in. Dreams just going to try and chase onto Amazing. If they can take down the jungler, perhaps they have a chance. Cly hooked up by Jisoo. Amazing's off towards the side. Kick is backing. No TP for him. And Fnatic still running for the hills. Niski will get knocked up as he hits the blast cone, but Misfits Academy burn a lot and can't get the fight they want.
Kikis, however, is going to drag them away from the Baron by trying to push into the base. There's a massive stack of minions in the bottom lane, and now if Amazing can at least distract Misfits Academy for a while, look, they've pulled him all the way around. Kikis is still in the base. The rest of Fnatic Academy are at least closing in to try and deny any fast recalls. Kikis, we've seen this so many times from him. He wants to base race this down in game one.
Amazing's going in as well. Amazing's going to try and jump back. Pride Stalker there, still seeing perhaps if he can get the enemy jungler down. The Death Lotus used as well. Cosq gets the kill, but Kikis gets the turret. And actually, Stress, this is so serendipitous, because the last time these two teams met, Misfits went for a Baron and they lost their base to Kikis on Jace.
Oh, and Misfits Academy this time hold their nerve. They back away from the Baron. They do end up losing out once again. Fnatic Academy trying to drag Misfits around the map. Start the Baron. Go towards mid lane. Go towards bot lane. Amazing takes so much time that he'll be back available before Misfits Academy have truly regrouped and are ready.
Look at the level disparity between Kikis and Jisoo now as well. Kikis are just going to continue to split. He doesn't have teleport. Misfits Academy have started the Baron.
You're now playing into a Varus, a LeBlanc in the Baron pit here. They're going to slow him down long enough for Kikis to do enough work here.
Yeah, Kikis is at least going to get an inhibitor knock up onto Niski. Cosq's here as well.
It's happening.
Amazing, not there. It is happening once more. The Baron goes down. Now can Misfits get away? Can they get back to save the day? Because Kikis is getting the Nexus towers. One down. He got an inhibitor as well. He's not going to go for the Nexus because Pride Stalker gets back, but the base of Misfits is broken.
2 inhibitors down now, but Misfits do get the Baron buff. If they die here, though, Fnatic Academy may just end up closing on the exposed Nexus.
Kikis is here. Jisoo not there in time to save his teammate, and now they have to back away. They do have Baron buff. Their minions so much more tanky, but can Misfits hold out in a 3v5?
The impossible choice for Misfits. Baron for their inhibitor and Nexus towers. Misfits were looking to regroup, but they picked the wrong one, and Fnatic 5 versus 2, 3 trying to get into the base.
Cosq is still there. Exhaust already used. He's going to jump in, but the second exhaust comes down, and he is destroyed. The Nexus will fall. Fnatic go 1-0 up.
And after first blood went over to Cosq, it looked like this game was going to be very different. Looked like this might have been a Katarina snowballing all the way through, but adjustment from Fnatic Academy in lesson 1 of this best of 5 has really punished Cosq. You can see picking this Katarina 2-6-1 at the end of it all.
We talk about it time and time again, Stress, adaptability. Which team adapted better to the scenario thrown in front of them, to the composition in front of them? And you have to say it was Fnatic. Even in pick and ban, getting that double exhaust just paid off so well when it came to teamfights later on.
And that Akali also put a lot of pressure now on Jisoo, and you have to look at this for the further games in this series. While it wasn't necessarily like game winning, it's not like Akali snowballed out of the lane and just
He hasn't lost a game on it though, so is it game winning?
But now it means Nautilus is no longer a safe blind pick for Misfits Academy. We already kind of knew it from seeing the Akali in weeks gone by, but now Misfits Academy know it themselves. They've had it proven to them that that Akali will get picked into it, so that now changes the draft. As we go forward through this series, you've got to start questioning the LeBlanc, the Akali, Varus now for Rales, just these very strong picks that all came together at once.
Misfits Academy do get side choice next game as well, so I think we expect them to pick red side and perhaps change their draft a little bit around that. Yuki has been incredibly strong on that Varus, so maybe they'll try and prioritize getting that for themselves. I wonder about Amazing as well, though, because although they banned out the Elise, even on his Lee Sin, he was able to make a lot of plays early on.
Yeah, I mean, Amazing is that kind of the jungler that people try and ban out different things. Last week it was Rek'Sai, this week it was Elise. The guy's been playing long enough that he is at least confident at this level on just about any jungler you give him.
Yeah, well, Fnatic Academy starts off with a winner and one step closer to that spot in the European LCS. For more on Game 1, let's go over to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Medic. Let's start just by taking a look at the end of that game. Pretty exciting finish, I'd say, coming out on the side of Fnatic, and I'm glad we're all doing this. Is this our thing now, as a team? Yes, wonderful. Let's take a look at it. Let's look at the final moments, because I think this was a pretty sweet ending to the game for Fnatic. Looked good for them overall. It just feels like there was no right option for Misfits.
No, I love this play from Kikis. I really feel like after that Baron start by Misfits, it was kind of like this is their way back. See if you can get like a Baron, maybe a Baron fight, and then slowly kind of claw your way back. But then Kikis just he got the first Nexus turret. He then returned back down to the bottom lane without teleport, knowing, okay, if they do Baron, I might be able to either finish the game or at least get enough of the base that it's not worth it. So I think like this is a classic Kikis individual play. Like he likes to try and make some of these risky things in the late game.
Yeah, good side lane management, I think, from Fnatic Academy, showing that like in terms of just big picture strategy, they are pretty well refined, especially if you call them a challenger team. Like they're definitely working. We even have a replay of one of the level 1 plays where they didn't get too much off it this game, but we can definitely tell that they're trying to experiment. And it's just something cheeky here, you know? So you see amazing leashing with Kikis. Kikis doesn't take any damage. He also doesn't take any energy. So you're going to see that he arrives top lane, and it looks like Kikis is actually the one fake leashing. But then if you look what Fnatic is doing on the blue buff, they are starting there, and Clyde's taking damage. So the enemy team is going to see the support coming to lane, taking damage there, and then being like, okay, this guy is lower HP. Martin, why are you pointing at the screen?
Oh, it's because he was also using a spell to show he's used mana.
Yeah,
to help the leash.
Obviously. So they're hiding the fact that they leashed, and then Kikis arrives in the top lane, full HP, full energy. So basically the enemy's gonna think, they tried to fake leash, but they messed it up, because I can definitely tell that their support is low on HP and low on damage. And then you're still not sure where the jungle is, because he's apparently on stage.
Oh, he's pulling a Reckless.
Yeah.
This must be a Fnatic
serious thing. In best of 5s, you sit on stage, you focus
Our veteran has to stay on stage.
And this is, I mean, Amazing, I think, was the hero of the hour when we look at this early game. How much of that was from the masked early pathing from the team is pretty debatable. Pretty much none. But when we look at him, he was very, very successful, and I feel like shutting down a lot of what Misfits Academy were trying to do.
Yes, exactly. When the first what happened in favor of Misfits Academy, they used Flash in the mid lane from Katarina, which is a huge issue when you're playing against things like LeBlanc, Lee Sin early. This is where the Flash is used for first blood. We can't really say that was bad by any means. It was a correct move. The problem now is Lee Sin and LeBlanc are just such a fantastic combo at setting up these ganks. And that's also why, like, picking things like Katarina. I know it's a game 1, so it's fine you take some risk, but like it is really difficult to execute against things like, you know, LeBlanc, because she's so good at jumping. Just land the E, you're basically locked in place.
Yeah.
And,
Katarina can punish you if you use your gap closer, but the thing is, LeBlanc has so many gap closers, it's really hard for her to go into full engage mode. Then Koski used this flash early on, and it was very easy for Amazing to return into the mid lane, because the top lane matchup was scaling anyways. Akali just outscales Nautilus and eventually has that side lane pressure.
And that's a big problem, honestly, for Misfits Academy. The fact that Pride Stalker, obviously he's playing the Graves, he's doing his job, he's farming, he's getting strong towards the late game. He didn't have any pressure on the map then. So not only did Katarina not have a flash, she was also playing 1v2 in the mid lane, just making it even harder for Koski to actually do anything. And that's the thing for Fnatic Academy in this one. The bot lane would go even in a melee versus melee matchup. Top lane would go even, then outscale later. It's all about mid lane. And Amazing just went mid over and over, and that gave a huge early game advantage.
So I want to take a chance to kind of look at our perceptions coming into this game and see how they matched up to what we saw on screen. We said, hey, maybe there's a chance for Misfits to go even here. Maybe they can't go even in lane, and Fnatic are going to outplay them in a map movement sense. Is that what we saw here? What really happened?
I mean, what we actually saw was still that deciding fight around the Dragon Pit that really snowballed it forward. But I feel like never really did Misfits have a claim on the game.
Yeah.
Like we can see right here, this is always almost desperate move territory, especially from Koski, who was definitely affected in this fight. Also, just as a team, kicking out Pride Stalker here, turning to the left side, and then immediately turning around when Koski comes in shows that Fnatic, they have good communication.
Exactly, and really understand what to do in the fight. It, like as soon as Koski flashes in, instant exhaust, locked down by the Braum, and he dies. I think this wasn't about like macro or being the smarter team. I think this was a fantastic individual performance from Amazing in a game against a jungler who wanted to farm, and against some lanes on the side of Misfits Academy that couldn't really punish. Like a Nautilus will not really punish the Akali, the bot lane with the Tahm Kench will not really punish the Braum lane. So Amazing just kind of could go mid lane, make the early plays, get a big advantage, and then this fight happened that obviously kind of sealed the deal for Fnatic.
Definitely we'll see more wave clear champs, I think, from Koski. I mean, imagine if you're a scenario here and you're playing like, I don't know, a Victor mid with Cleanse or something that can just keep the game even and gets rewarded for your jungle farming as you scale up, or any good matchup into the LeBlanc, then I think we can see a different mid game. I think they were trying to snowball the early game with their picks, but their jungler was always farming. I think there was a discrepancy there, so they need to align on what their actual plan is in the early game. I
think LeBlanc is too good at setting up early plays, so either you ban her or you pick her yourself. That probably will be the solution for Misfits Academy, because Amazing and Niski in this matchup here, or in this game, had really good synergy.
Definitely saw that showing through in this series. Well, we'll see if Misfits Academy can bounce back in game 2 after the break.
We are about to get on to the Summoners of game 1 of this best of 5 between Fnatic Academy and Misfits Academy. The winner goes through to the EULCS from the Challenger series. And actually, Amazing's going to get onto Koski. Niski jumps in, exhaust down. Koski no flash. Niski with the kill.
There's Fnatic Academy head mid again.
Early Inferno. Koski's going to put down the Death Lotus, but it's a death knell for him. Amazing will get the kill.
Dragon is dying pretty quickly. Pride Stalker's in.
Looks for the steal. Can't get it from Amazing. Now Dreams is caught out. He tries to get away, but he is taken down. Jisoo knocked up. Fnatic getting kills. Here's Koski. He's in the midst of 5 members of Fnatic. It's a double for Amazing.
Come in. LeBlanc now down below 1,000.
Stolen one before. He looks for another Devour onto Dreams. He's going to get the Baron for Fnatic Academy, and they'll take Dreams down as well. Amazing's dead. Great play by Fnatic. Q is still there. Exhaust already used. He's going to jump in, but the second exhaust comes down, and he is destroyed. The Nexus will fall. Fnatic go 1-0 up.